In the Quran, it is said, every soul will taste death. When that moment comes, eyes will close, breaths will stop, and the ruh will leave the body. But what happens after? Where does the ruh go? After death, the soul rises to the seven heavens, where it discovers the secrets of the universe. In each heaven, it sees different worlds and realms. At the end, the soul reaches Allah. Then it is sent to the hidden realm of Barzakh. There, they eat, drink, speak, and wait. It is not the world and not the hereafter, but a separate dimension, a mysterious place with its own rules, more real than this world. You are watching Religious Story TV. Today you will see the journey of the soul through the seven heavens and then to Barzakh. We continue our series about the hidden realms. Subscribe to the channel and like the video. If you are ready, let's begin. Until the 19th century, people believed the Earth was in the center. The sun, the moon, and the stars were all moving around the Earth. There was only one reference system, the Earth. But the Quran was saying there are seven heavens, seven different systems. In 1838, a discovery was made. It was proven that the Earth moves around the sun. For the first time, this truth appeared. As years passed, scientists discovered more. They announced the universe has a seven-layer structure. In the Quran, it is said, He created seven heavens in layers. Now the time has come to speak about death. Soon the ruh will begin its journey through the seven heavens. But before that, it will meet the angel of death and be taken from the prison of the body. For a believer, this moment is very easy. The angels of death appear to the believer in a beautiful form. They gently pull the ruh from the body and say, "O pure ruh, come out with the good news of Allah's mercy and beauty and return to your Lord." Angels with shining faces like the sun, carrying the scent of Jannah, surround the ruh. It is said that Idris alayhi salam, when he saw these angels, was amazed by their beauty. The world is now left behind. For the ruh, this is the moment of meeting Allah. But for those who ignored Allah and His commands, it is very different. Dark and harsh angels surround them with shrouds of fire. The angel of death says, "O evil ruh, come out to the anger of your Lord." Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the leaving of such a ruh from the body is like pulling thorns out of cotton, tearing, painful, and full of unbearable suffering. This separation takes long, but it is only the beginning of torment. At that moment, the eyes close to this world, but the unseen world opens. The body lies still, but the ruh begins to see the truths that the living cannot see. It realizes that everything left behind in the world was temporary. What remains is only iman, good deeds, and the bond with Allah. While the body lies lifeless, the ruh is already pulled into the unseen world. It watches its body being washed, shrouded, and prepared for burial. But it cannot speak to anyone, nor touch them. It is there, but in another dimension. After leaving the body in its first rise, the ruh found itself in the middle of a sea of blue light. The atmosphere of the earth surrounded it like a giant crystal dome. As it passed the sky of the world, it saw again the great wisdom of its Lord. At this level, the angel gave the first good news. Good news, O pure heart. In the world, every salah you prayed opened the gates of this heaven for you. Your du'as passed through these layers and rose upward. Now you are following them yourself. The ruh looked back. The magnificent atmosphere and the sky of the world looked like a jewel. From its heart it said, "My Lord, how beautifully you created this." The second heaven. When the ruh stepped into the deep silence of space, it first met the peaceful light of the moon and then the sun. And it was as if the whole system said to the ruh, "Go forward, O blessed ruh." Greater worlds are waiting for you. The gifts of your Lord are many. The third heaven, secrets of the nearby galactic space. After leaving the solar system, the Ruh stepped into interstellar space, the emptiness between stars. Here, cosmic winds were blowing, the streams of particles from stars, like breaths moving through the universe. It was amazed. Every star was like a sun, and around them could be countless worlds. The Ruh looked at them with wonder. Among stars thousands of times bigger than the sun, the Ruh continued its journey. The fourth heaven, then the Ruh began to see the Milky Way in its true form, 100 billion stars in spiral arms, like a masterpiece of divine calligraphy. At the center stood the supermassive black hole. The guardian angel of the galaxy spread its vast wings and said, "Welcome to this great spiral." Now you see the whole galaxy. Every star is a word of Allah, every nebula a shadow of His art. Explosions of creation could be seen as new suns came into being. As the Ruh approached the border of the Milky Way, it came near the local group of galaxies. Andromeda shone 2.5 million light-years away, like a great sister spiral. The fifth heaven, the realm of galaxies. At the gate of the fifth heaven, the Ruh suddenly stopped. Before it opened a view beyond imagination, dozens of galaxies turned like wheels of light. At the center of each one, massive black holes stood as witnesses of Allah's power. As the Ruh rose higher, it saw the birth and death of billions of stars. Rising to the sixth heaven, the Ruh had already gone beyond the limits of the human mind. In front of it were giant structures holding thousands of galaxies. These were super-galaxy clusters, the largest building blocks of the universe. The Ruh looked at the cosmic web, the universe's web-like structure. It saw that all this greatness was made with order and wisdom. When the Ruh reached the seventh heaven, it was now at the very edge of the known universe. Here, the cosmic microwave background, the first light of creation, was still echoing. These were the last traces of the Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago. The Ruh passed the limits of the known universe and entered the unseen realms. As it came closer to Allah, it saw that the whole universe was in fact very small. 18,000 worlds were created, and all were under the power of Allah. Before the manifestation of Allah, the Ruh completely melted. There was no more me, only Him. All the worlds, galaxies and stars were like a single dot in this holy presence. Then came the divine address. "O my servant, you prayed Salah for me in the world, and I prepared a place for you in Jannah. You hoped for my mercy, and I raised you to the highest of my mercy. Welcome." With these words, the Ruh became full of light. And in that moment, the Ruh understood. The whole cosmic journey was the meaning of Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Surely we belong to Allah, and to Him we shall return. This journey is the spiritual experience every Muslim will live after death, as described in Islamic sources. The Quran says, "O Ruh at peace, return to your Lord." And the Hadith also tell of this journey, giving believers the good news of a hopeful future. After the Ruh reaches Allah, by His command, it is sent back to the earth. At that time, the body is washed, wrapped in a shroud, and prepared for burial by the living people on earth. If the person was Muslim, the body is washed. According to Sahih Hadith, the Ruh feels this. It feels if the water is cold or warm. It feels every touch, every movement, even the roughness during washing. That is why the Prophet ﷺ ordered that the body be washed gently, otherwise the Ruh feels pain. After the washing, the Ruh waits for the Janazah Salah. Some narrations say it even watches it. After the prayer, the burial begins. When the body is placed in the grave and the soil is thrown on it, a moment comes that every human will face, whether believer or not. The grave, which for the living is silent and dark, becomes for the dead a place of questioning. Two angels, Munkar and Nakir, approach. Their appearance is terrifying, unlike anything seen before. They make the ruh sit and ask questions. They sound simple, but no false answer can be given. Who is your Lord? What is your religion? Who is your prophet? This is not a test answered by memory, because everyone in the world knows the words Allah, Islam, Muhammad. But here, only the heart speaks. If the person was a believer, the heart gives the right answers. If not, it can only say, I do not know. For the believer who answers correctly, the grave opens wide and a window to Jannah is shown. The ruh feels a breeze of peace, the fragrance of mercy. The angels comfort it and say, rest in peace until the day of Qiyamah. But for the one who cannot answer, the grave becomes a place of torment. Its walls close in, ribs press together, a window to the fire of Jahannam opens. The ruh is filled with smoke, heat, and despair. The punishment begins, and time stretches like a chain with no end. The test of the grave is the most certain trial of existence. Every human will face it without exception. The Prophet ﷺ described how the grave squeezes and presses until the ribs lock together. An unbearable punishment begins. The people of Barzakh also have their own kind of life. They feel joy, pain, comfort, and happiness. But those still living in the world of matter cannot know with normal senses what the ruh feels and experiences after leaving the body. We learn this only from our Prophet ﷺ, who was given knowledge of divine truths. From the hadith we understand that the believing ruhs in Barzakh meet with each other. It is also narrated that the dead receive news about the living and see those who visit their graves. They even know who sends the du'as and spiritual gifts for them. The ruhs of the believers are in blessings and being free can move around. But the ruhs of disbelievers and also the ruhs of sinful believers are busy with punishment. Answering the question, what is life in Barzakh like? Shah Waliullah ad-Dehlawi said, in this realm, the ruhs are in countless levels. But mainly, there are four groups. Those in a state of wakefulness, yakaza. They are rewarded or punished according to their deeds. Those in a state like natural sleep, who are comforted or punished through dreams. Those whose animal and angelic sides are weak. The virtuous good ruhs, who mix with the angels and live an angelic life. The ruhs of the prophets leave the body and take the form of their bodies with the scent of musk and camphor. They are in Jannah. They eat, drink, and enjoy, and at night they rest in lanterns hanging from the Arsh. The ruhs of the martyrs leave their bodies and are in green birds in Jannah. They eat, drink, and enjoy, and at night they rest in lanterns hanging from the Arsh. The ruhs of the obedient believers are around Jannah. They do not eat or drink, but take pleasure by looking at Jannah. The ruhs of sinful believers are between the skies and the earth, in the air. The ruhs of the disbelievers are in Sijin, deep below the seventh earth, in black birds. They still have some connection with their bodies, like the sun is in the sky, but its light is on the earth. The ruhs stay connected to their bodies in the graves through spiritual links, like invisible wires, while they themselves go to the Barzakh, like a station and waiting place. In the grave, the ruhs face different reflections and openings. Their deeds from the world take a form and appear before them. Their salah, Quran, service in the way of Allah, and tasbih come as companions and friends, giving peace and happiness. How long they will remain in Barzakh after Qiyamah only Allah knows. The ruhs in Barzakh can hear us, but we cannot hear them. If Allah wills, they may also hear what is said here. Some awliya have been given discovery of the graves. The Prophet ﷺ stood by the well where the bodies of the disbelievers of Badr were thrown and said, "Have you seen what Allah promised you?" Among the high and noble ruhs, there are those who can meet the ruhs of Barzakh. Muhyiddin ibn Arabi wrote that he often met with noble ruhs. Imam Suyuti said he met the Prophet ﷺ in waking vision 70 times. Ahmad Rifai also told that he was honored to meet the Prophet's ruh. It is narrated that Imam Bukhari, after making wudu and salah, would present his hadiths to Rasulullah ﷺ in muraqabah to confirm if they were correct. Meeting through dreams is of course possible. As for evil ruhs, they cannot join such meetings. It is as if they are chained until Qiyamah, so they cannot come back to the world. That is why in so-called spirit calling sessions, the ones who appear are not ruhs but jinn or shayatin. Evil ruhs cannot come because they are bound, and good ruhs do not come to such people. However, noble ruhs can travel through the world, follow what happens for Iman, and stay connected to their graves. Hadiths call the Ummah of Muhammad to be careful and respectful about graves and those inside them. Also, even modern parapsychology accepts that each ruh remains connected to the atoms of its body in the grave, sometimes visiting them. That is why any disrespect to a grave, especially destroying it, building over it and committing sins there, will disturb and harm the ruh still connected to its body. Many incidents confirm this. For example, in Ankara, a grave in the middle of the city could not be moved by bulldozers. Many people witnessed that the machines got stuck and could not continue. Even Western writers have spoken much on such matters. Some philosophers, certain mystics and Christians say only the ruh will be punished. But we, the people of al-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, believe that just as the body and ruh will be resurrected together, they will also face punishment or blessings together. The relation of the ruh and the body is like a blind man and a cripple. The blind man carries the cripple on his back, and the cripple shows him the way. Together, they move forward. In the same way, ruh and body share both pain and joy in this world and in the next. The Quran and Hadith clearly mention that the body and its parts will both taste punishment and enjoy blessings. Without a body suitable for the hereafter, how could pleasures be felt? The same Allah who created both the ruh and the atoms of the body can bring the body back to life, punish it, or reward it with blessings. Power and knowledge belong to Him. He does as He wills. The real truth of these matters will be known in the next life, when humans face the surprises of that world. For there, the rewards and punishments are things that no eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no heart has imagined. Sadaqah is building things like roads, bridges, mosques, fountains, schools and institutions that people will continue to benefit from. As long as these remain standing, every good deed done through them will also be recorded in the book of the one who built them, until Qiyamah. This was taught by the Prophet ﷺ. The works left by scholars are also a form of Sadaqah Jariyah. The scholar is rewarded according to his effort and knowledge. Supporting scholars, helping those who walk the path of true knowledge, providing for their books, papers, food and needs, these too are considered endless channels of reward and are counted as Sadaqah Jariyah. A ruh that departs wishes for righteous children who will make good deeds after it. Only such children will be useful in the hereafter. A ruh does not need sweets, food, or gatherings like the 7th day, 40th day, or anniversaries. It does not need mevlids, paid recitations, or photos on walls. If you want to honor them, then visit their graves, give salam, and soften your heart. Let your tongue make dua and istighfar, and let your eyes shed tears. These are the true gifts that reach them in that world, the only currency that has value there. Now let us return to that night of Miraj, when all limits of time and space were crossed. Let us live again the 7 heavens through the words of the Prophet and see what he witnessed there, different from an ordinary ruh. For 3 years, the Muslims faced a heavy boycott, living in hunger and hardship. After this, the Prophet ﷺ lost his beloved uncle Abu Talib, and soon after his dear wife Khadija radiallahu anha. At his hardest time, Allah gave him comfort, Isra and Miraj. The journey from Mecca to Jerusalem is called Isra, and the rising from Jerusalem to the heavens is called Miraj. On that blessed night, our Prophet ﷺ was at Hatim, the place next to the Kaaba. While he was between sleep and wakefulness, Jibril ﷺ came. He opened his blessed chest, washed his heart with Zamzam water, filled it with Iman and Hikmah, then closed it again. After this divine preparation, he gave him the good news. It is time for your journey to your Lord. Jibril ﷺ brought to him a riding animal called Barzakh. Its name comes from the Arabic word bark, which means lightning. Barzakh was shining white. It was so fast that it could reach the farthest point seen by the eye in just one step. It was neither a mule nor a donkey. It was in between their size. When the Prophet ﷺ came close, Barzakh felt shy and trembled, because until that moment it had never carried anyone so honored in the sight of Allah. Thus, the journey of Isra began. In an instant, they traveled from Mecca to Jerusalem to Masjid al-Aqsa. Masjid al-Aqsa is a holy land with a golden-domed mosque big enough for about 140,000 people. Normally, the journey of 1,500 kilometers would take weeks with a camel caravan. But with the permission of Allah, it was completed in one moment. When they arrived in Jerusalem, the Prophet ﷺ faced a big test. Jibril ﷺ brought 2 cups before him. One was full of milk, the other of wine. The Prophet ﷺ chose the milk without hesitation. Then Jibril ﷺ said, "All praise to Allah who guided you to the nature of human creation. If you had chosen the wine, your ummah would have gone astray." In this way, the Messenger ﷺ was representing his whole ummah, becoming their source of blessing. Milk here represented fitra, and wine represented love for the dunya. The journey of the 7 heavens. Now the time had come to rise to the heavens. Jibril ﷺ took our Prophet ﷺ and came to the gate of the heaven. At every gate there were angels on duty. When the gate opened, the Prophet ﷺ stepped into a completely different world, the first heaven. In the first heaven, they saw a prophet with a bright and shining face. Jibril ﷺ said, "This is your father Adam. Give him salam." The Prophet ﷺ gave salam. Adam ﷺ, with a sweet smile on his face, said, "Welcome, my righteous son. Welcome, righteous prophet." Meeting his father filled the Prophet ﷺ's heart with deep joy. The second heaven. The gates opened again. This time 2 prophets were there, Yahya and Isa ﷺ. They both smiled and said, "Welcome, O righteous brother, righteous son." They were cousins in this world, but now, like all prophets, they were united for one purpose, to welcome the beloved on his way to his Lord. The third heaven. Here they met Yusuf ﷺ, known for his great beauty. His face was shining like the moon. When the Prophet ﷺ gave salam, Yusuf ﷺ said with joy, "Welcome, my righteous son." The fourth heaven. In the next level there was Idris ﷺ, who is called the trustworthy prophet in the Quran. When he saw the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Welcome, righteous brother, righteous Nabi." The fifth heaven. Here they met Harun ﷺ. He hugged the Prophet ﷺ and said, "Welcome, O righteous Nabi." The sixth heaven. In this level was Musa ﷺ. When he saw the Prophet ﷺ, tears came from his eyes. The angels asked in surprise, "O Musa, why are you crying?" Musa ﷺ replied, "After me a young prophet has come. More people from his ummah will enter paradise than from mine." Still, he hugged him with love and gave his salam. At last, they reached the seventh heaven. There was Ibrahim alayhi salam, the one who built the Kaaba and the symbol of Tawheed. Jibril said, "This is your father Ibrahim. Give him salam." The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam gave salam, and Ibrahim alayhi salam replied, "Welcome, righteous son, welcome, righteous Nabi." In this heaven, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam also saw Bayt al-Ma'mur. It was like the Kaaba in the sky. He prayed there. Jibril alayhi salam explained, "Every day 70,000 angels make tawaf here. Their turn will not come again until the day of Qiyamah." Then the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam was raised to Sidrat al-Muntaha. He described its fruits as big like clay jars and its leaves like the feet of elephants. Jibril alayhi salam said, "This is Sidrat al-Muntaha." There were 4 rivers there, 2 inner, Batini, and 2 outer, Zahiri. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam asked, "What are these, O Jibril?" Jibril alayhi salam answered, "The 2 Batini rivers are rivers of Jannah. The Zahiri ones are the Nile, and the Euphrates, Sidrat al-Muntaha, is not only a tree, but a symbol of the divine limit. Here, all known and unknown measures end." Jibril alayhi salam stopped and said to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, "O Messenger of Allah, from here you will go alone. Allah gave me permission only up to this point. If I take one more step, I will burn and turn to ashes." From there, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam continued alone beyond Sidrat. He entered a place beyond time and space. Extraordinary realities were shown to him. He was honored with the beauty of Allah. In the words of the Quran, he was 2 bow lengths away, or even closer. This meeting cannot be fully described or expressed in human language. Miraj is not only a story of rising. Every heaven, every lesson, every salam is guidance. What happened at Sidrat and beyond shows the limits of both humans and angels. The journey of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam revealed the weakness of the universe, matter and time, and the greatness of Allah's power, mercy and closeness. The Arsh is created. It is the biggest creation, holding 18,000 worlds. It is not eternal, it is created. Right now, 4 angels carry the Arsh, and on the day of judgment this number will be 8. These angels are beyond human understanding in size. The universe we live in is at the lowest level of the Arsh. Above the world are the 7 heavens, layered like the skins of an onion. The distance between each heaven is 500 years. The moon, stars and planets are still under even the first heaven. Above the 7 heavens is the Kursi. The Kursi is so great that it covers the heavens and the earth. The Kursi mentioned in Ayat al-Kursi is a symbol of Allah's power. Above the Kursi is the Arsh al-Azam. Righteous people, after death, will pass through these levels and will be given the honor to see the greatness of Allah. The journey of the 7 heavens for humans begins with death. The angel of death pulls the ruh, starting from the fingertips. After the ruh leaves, the body becomes cold and stiff. While the funeral is prepared on earth, washing, shrouding, the ruh is shown its place in paradise. Then the ruh returns to the washed body, entering between the shroud and the body. It is not the full body, but small in size, like a bee. The ruh hears the words said at the grave, whether good or bad. When the body is placed in the grave, the ruh returns again to the body and is ready for questioning. The ruh of a believer is taken by angels with beautiful faces. They clothe it with bright and fragrant garments and give the good news of paradise. Then the journey through the heavens begins. At every level, the angels welcome the ruh with kind words of praise. The first heaven. When the ruh reaches the first heaven, it is met by the angel in charge. If the person had true iman, the gate opens for the ruh. Without iman, the ruh cannot rise to the sky. The condition for entering the first heaven is iman. The second heaven. When the ruh comes to the second heaven, the angels with it speak to the angel at the gate. They tell how the person prayed Salah correctly and with care. Then the gate of the second heaven is opened. The third heaven. When the ruh reaches the third heaven, it is said that the person gave zakah, sadaqah and fitra, and that they respected Allah's order in their wealth. Then the gates of the third heaven are opened. The fourth heaven. When the ruh comes to the fourth heaven, it is said that the person fasted well, kept control of their tongue and eyes. Then the gate of the fourth heaven is opened. The fifth heaven. When the ruh arrives at the fifth heaven, if Hajj was fard for the person, it is told that they performed it well. Then the gate of the fifth heaven is opened. The sixth heaven. When the ruh reaches the sixth heaven, it is said that the person was very good to their parents and received their dua. Then the gate of the sixth heaven is opened. The seventh heaven. When the ruh comes to the seventh heaven, it is said that the person made istighfar at dawn, gave sadaqah secretly, and cared for orphans. Then the gate of the seventh heaven is opened, beyond the seven heavens. Beyond the seven heavens, the ruh goes forward to the veils of the glory and greatness of Allah. At each veil, made of light, there is an angel guarding it. The gate of each veil is knocked. The ruh is introduced by its istighfar, by calling to good and by helping the poor. The angels welcome it with words of praise. Everywhere, the ruh meets angels and exchanges salam with them. After passing through all the veils, the ruh reaches Sidrat al-Muntaha, the great tree at the edge of paradise. Its branches cover all of paradise, while its roots go down to the depths of hell. The word Muntaha means end, limit, final. The word Sidra means tree. Sidrat al-Muntaha is so mighty that its branches spread across paradise and its roots reach down into hell. At Sidrat al-Muntaha, the gate is knocked and the person's ikhlas is checked. If the deeds are free of showing off, the servant passes through. Then a sea of fire appears before the servant. To cross it takes 1,000 years, but the fire does not harm the servant. After that, other seas come one after another. Seas of light, of darkness, of water and of snow. Each one takes 1 year of the hereafter to pass. And 1 year of the hereafter is like 1 day in this world. After passing the seas, the servant reaches the Arsh al-Rahman. Now the ruh has reached the edges of Sidrat al-Muntaha. The Arsh has 80,000 veils. Each veil has 80,000 balconies, and on each balcony there are 80,000 moons. The light of just one of these moons would melt the whole world. Allahu Ta'ala asks, "Who is this you have brought?" The angels then praise the servant and tell of his good qualities. After this, Allahu Ta'ala accepts the servant who crossed all distances into his presence of honor. "O my servant, what a beautiful servant you are," he says. But he says this in front of the angels so they can witness it, and then he orders the angels to leave. Now the servant is face to face with his Lord. He has reached the highest station. When the angels leave, the servant's sins are shown to him. At the very moment he thinks he has reached the highest place, he feels dropped to the lowest point. It is so heavy that he thinks he is destroyed. Just when he believes everything is lost, Allahu Ta'ala says, "O my servant, in the world I covered these sins of yours. If your family had known them, they would have spit in your face and not even given you salam. But I covered them in the world, and today I will forgive them. That is why I did not show them to the angels. No servant is without faults, and I have forgiven you. Now, take him to Jannah." When man leaves the narrow world of mortality and begins the eternal journey, he passes through the 7 heavens one by one, coming closer to his Lord. Every gate opens with iman, with worship, and with sincerity. Finally, beyond all distances and veils, he arrives at the true home, peace in the presence of his Lord. There is no time and no place there, only the mercy and forgiveness of the Rabb. Let's try to explain this in a simple way. using both science and what we find in the Quran and Hadith about the seven heavens. The Quran tells us that Allah created seven heavens, layers or levels above us. Many scholars understood this as seven skies or realms, stacked one over another. Modern science also shows us that the universe has different layers and zones, which in some ways can be connected to this idea. The first heaven is the Earth's atmosphere, reaching up to the moon, about 380,000 kilometers. The second heaven is the solar system, with the sun at the center, 150 million kilometers. The third heaven is nearby galactic space, the stars around the sun, 3.26 light years. The fourth heaven is the Milky Way galaxy, with 400 billion stars. The sun is 8.5 kiloparsec from the center. The fifth heaven is the local group, a cluster of galaxies including the Milky Way and Andromeda, 10 million light-years wide. The sixth heaven is the Virgo supercluster, a giant structure with many galaxy groups, 100 million light-years wide. The seventh heaven is the universe itself, 13.8 billion light-years, the observable universe. With Hubble, we see that above superclusters there is nothing else, only the universe. The universe is expanding in every direction, a uniform expansion. The Quran says, "We built the heaven with power, and we are surely expanding it." With this ayah, the Quran explained the expanding universe 1400 years ago. According to a hadith of our Prophet ﷺ, the seven heavens and the earth are smaller than a ring in the desert when seen from the world. The stars we see at night are part of the closest heaven. Allah decorated it with beauty. The solar system, the stars and space are inside this first heaven. The atmosphere ends at about 64,000 kilometers. The first heaven is like a huge dome filled with shining stars. In the story of Miraj, the first heaven was the first place the Prophet ﷺ reached. It is said there are more angels there than the number of humans and jinn. At the gates of the seven heavens there are guardians, and each gate has a key. When we reach the first heaven, only Iman can open its gate, and there is Adam ﷺ. The second heaven opens with Salah, and there are Yahya and Isa ﷺ. As we rise higher, we reach another level. The third heaven opens with Zakah, and Yusuf ﷺ is there. After a long distance, the fourth heaven comes. Its gate opens with fasting, and Idris ﷺ is there. The gates of the fifth heaven open with Hajj, and this is where Harun ﷺ is. The sixth heaven opens with the dua of parents, and Musa ﷺ is there. Finally, when we come to the seventh heaven, Ibrahim ﷺ is there. Its gates open with istighfar at dawn, because paradise is not full of people who never sinned, but of those who repented for their sins.